Have you ever felt like no matter how much you have planned, you still just can't get things done? I used to think I was a really disciplined person because I got really good grades back in the school, but not because I knew anything about productivity hacks. Honestly, I had no idea what those even were at the time. But after I graduated and started working towards my bigger goals, outside of my 9 to 5, I felt like I became the complete opposite. I really struggled to get anything done. I tried what everyone recommend, time blocking. I make sure everything was scheduled and there is no excuse. But somehow the day would just fly by. I would get distracted, I get tired, and I procrastinate. I watch YouTube, I scroll Instagram, I did everything except what I have planned for myself. And for some reason, the tasks that on my schedule just never get done. It was very frustrating because I had big goals, but a lack of self-discipline kept getting in the way, and I felt completely stuck. Then I had this weird realization, maybe I was never disciplined, because if I was disciplined, then why could I get so much done at school and at my 9 to 5, but not when it comes to my own dream? Maybe it wasn't about me, maybe it was something external that made me show up. And honestly, I was right. After making a few external changes and experimenting it for months, I started getting things done consistently, even without relying on self-discipline. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to actually stick to your schedule, even if you feel like you have zero self-discipline, so you can finally start making real progress towards the goals that matter the most to you. Lacking self-discipline means you struggle to resist temptation, stay focused, or follow through on what you said you would do, even when it matters to you. So if you already lack self-discipline, why would those productivity hacks like time blocking, habit tracker, Pomodoro timers, or daily to-do lists would suddenly make you get things done? Time blocking just help you to make space for the task. Same with the other tools. They don't actually make you to do the task. You still have to take a huge initiative for you to get the things done. So what you really need right now is something that will push you into the actions. But don't get me wrong, self-discipline is a very powerful skill, but it takes time to build, and honestly, I'm still working on it. That's why I found systems and tricks that help me stay on track and get things done even when I don't feel like it. Because I have goals and you have goals, I don't want you to wait till you have mastered the skill of self-discipline to start achieving your goals. You can build self-discipline along the way, but right now you really need something that helps you to take actions immediately. I've made 4 to 5 vision boards over the past few years, and the results are pretty inconsistent. Most of you have probably heard of vision board before. My first one was back in 2023, and it was a huge success. I would say I have achieved about 80% of things that I've put on my vision board. That include finding peace within myself after going through a really tough time, going on a spiritual retreat, meeting my partner, becoming a content creator, and hosting my first ever webinar. At that point, I was like, wow, this stuff really works. I can just use vision board to manifest all of my desires. And if you've been following my channel, my friend, you know I like all the topics about manifestations. So I make a second vision board in the next year. Unfortunately, it was a total flop. I've achieved none of it. So after that, I didn't make another physical vision board and I switched to the digital one. Something did happen, but the results were nowhere near what I hoped for. Then this year, I went back to make the physical vision board again. And honestly, I'm shocked at how well it's been working. My salary has doubled. I look and feel healthier. I finally start building muscle and losing some fat. I'm seeing consistent growth on my YouTube channel, and even on the tough days, I've stayed persistent. So it got me thinking, why does the magic work sometimes and the other times it just doesn't? Then it hits me, it was not about the magic at all. It's how you design your vision board that matters. Because when it's done right, your vision board isn't just about dreaming. It actually pushes you into actions, even if you feel like you have zero self-discipline. And after reflecting on what works and what doesn't, I realized there are 5 key things that actually make a vision board work. So let's start with the first one. The first tip is you don't have pictures that help you romanticize the hard times. This might sound a little strange at first, but it made a huge difference for me, and I believe it can do the same for you. So let me ask you this. Is there a time of a year, a certain season, or a specific occasion when it feels harder to work on your goals? For me, it's winter. If you live in the UK, you will know what I mean. By 3 to 4 p.m. during the winter time, it's already dark, and the sky is just gloomy every day. The energy just disappeared. Every year from November to the next year, March, I find myself feeling really low, maybe a little bit of seasonal depressions. And during that time, it's generally hard for me to stay productive and stay motivated. So here's what I start doing. I added pictures to my vision board that help me romanticize working during those times. I love the cozy vibe of working at night with the candle, soft lighting, and also a warm drink. So I found images that capture that mood, and I add them to my vision board. Now when I see those pictures during the dark, cold months, it has shifted my mindset. Instead of resisting working on that season, I start leaning into it. I start to enjoy the idea of working in that kind of environment, in working in that kind of weather. So if there's a time or situations that makes harder for you to show up and work towards your goal, ask yourself, how can I make this season feel more enjoyable? Find photos that reflect a mood or environments that you want to experience while working. When you look at those pictures regularly, you will naturally start shifting your physical space and your mindset to match them. And you would be surprised how much easier for you to work during those times. The second tip is all of your pictures about goals, and there's no actions. This is a super common mistake, and I found I made this mistake on my second vision board. Like many people, I thought a vision board should just be full of the big goals like a big house, happy marriage, a thriving business, having tons of money. Because that's exactly what we've been told in the manifestation space. Just put your goals on your board and somehow the magic will happen. So that's exactly what I did. I filled the boards with the dream results. One of my goals at that time was to become a successful content creator. So I added photos of an Instagram account that had tons of followers, because back then I was focusing on Instagram instead of YouTube, and that's what it is. But here's the problem, that kind of pictures doesn't actually remind you to do anything about it. It was just a dream. It doesn't show you the path that to help you to get there. A vision board isn't magic, it's a tool. It works when it reminds you to take actions towards your goal. So now I've completely changed my approach. My current vision board still includes the big dream, but I also include action-based pictures. Things like filming a vlog, someone editing a video, someone taking content photos. These visuals represent the daily habits that I need to have in order for me to become a successful content creator. Because your brain needs more than a destination. It needs a clear picture of the path that gets you there. I need to see what things I actually have to do to move things forward, not just the destination. So if you want your vision board to actually work, don't just put on the end goals. Put some action-based pictures on it. That way, every time when you look at it, you are not just reminded of where you want to go. You are being gently nudged that you need to take the next step. And funny enough, when I look back at my first vision board and compare to the current one, I did the same thing. I've put some of the action-based pictures like reading books, doing yoga, journaling, and healing. But for some reason, I completely skipped all of that in my second vision board. And that's exactly when everything has stopped working. The third tip is there are no quotes on your vision board. Let me ask you something. Do you enjoy reposting quotes in your Instagram? Personally, I love it. When I was younger, I used to post all those emotional quotes about relationships. But these days, I'm way more into a positive and motivational quotes that lift me up. And honestly, they help me more than I expect. There are days that I find it really hard to stay focused on my goals. On those days, I would take a glance at my vision board, and what helped me the most, it was not those pictures, it was the quotes that I put on it. So I have added a few lines that truly speak to me, like current vibe working for the lifestyle I promised myself. Go, make an income while making an impact. Remember, you asked for growth. Don't be surprised when life challenges the out of you. These quotes hit me like those motivational quotes on Instagram, but instead of being buried in my feed, they're right in front of me every single day. They remind me why I'm doing this, why I have to work towards my goals. So if you are someone get inspired by words like I do, don't forget to include some motivational quotes that speak to you on your vision board. Pick the ones that genuinely touch your heart, the kind that make you feel something when you read them, not just Pinterest fluff, not just any random quotes on your Pinterest feed. Because when you are struggling, those words might be exactly what you need to hear at that moment. Your vision board goals are too big to feel realistic to achieve. Here's something that might be holding you back without you realizing it. Have you ever seen an opportunity you really want but felt like it was completely out of reach, so you didn't even try? Maybe it was a chance to work overseas. Your interest, you really want to work overseas, but deep down, because you think you are not qualified enough, so you didn't apply it. Or maybe an opportunity for you to join a TV reality show, but you've told yourself, I'm not talented enough, or I would never make it past for the first round. So again, you didn't try. That's what happened when your vision boards just fill with the huge goals that feel like impossible to reach at all. If your brain can't see a realistic path or even believe that is possible, it will just shut down. You won't take actions. You will scroll past opportunities. You will stay where you are right now. So instead of just putting all the biggest dream on your vision board, mix them with goals that feels like realistic and realistic enough that you can achieve in the next 12 months. That doesn't mean you shouldn't dream big, but your vision board should include things that you believe you can move towards right now. Because when your brain sees something that is possible, you are way more likely to take the first step. The number 5 tips is you put your vision board somewhere you see it every day, but not often enough. It's not just about seeing your vision board every single day. You need to place it somewhere you see it most of the time throughout your day. When I made my second vision board, I put it near the sofa. The problem is, I hardly ever sat on the sofa. Most of my time was spent at my desk area, my dining table, and in my bedroom. I barely sit on my sofa. So even though I was technically seeing the vision board every single day, it wasn't actually part of my daily environment. I wasn't really looking at it, and I wasn't actually connecting with it. When I look at my vision board at the time, I wasn't imagining how my life is gonna look like when I achieved all of them. So I wasn't connecting with it at all. But here's the thing, a vision board only works when you see it often enough that it gently reminds you of your goals, and it reminds you that you need to take actions every single day. So it's supposed to keep you aligned, inspired, and on track without needing willpower every time. So right now I stick my vision board on my wardrobe, but because the glue is not strong enough, so it's dropped, but I will fix it as soon as possible. But anyway, after I've stick it on my wardrobe, it is a game changer. I see it every morning when I wake up, and every night before going to rest, I look at it as well. When I rest, tidy up, filming videos, I'm just looking at the board all the time. So you'll probably see it in the background for some of my videos, and you might ask why I don't put it on my desk area, because I always work at my desk area. And honestly, the answer is quite simple, because I don't have any space on desk area, so I didn't put it on my desk. I've considered placing it by my window, because my window is next to my desk, and while I love looking out of the window, the only spot available to put my vision board was a little bit awkward. I would actually have to look down to see the vision board, and that meant I wouldn't really notice it regularly even when I look out of the window, plus it would collect dust easily on that area. I treat my vision board as something that is sacred, so I didn't want it sitting somewhere that it would get ignored or messy. And there's also a deeper reason why I chose to stick it on my wardrobe, because when you consistently see your vision board right after you wake up or before you sleep, you are feeding it into your subconscious mind. And whether we're realizing it or not, 90% of what we do is driven by the subconscious. Even if you are not consciously focusing on your vision board, your brain is actually absorbing the message. So you are slightly reinforcing, this is who I am, this is where I am going. That's why placement is everything. If your vision board is hidden in a corner or stuck in somewhere you actually rarely look at every single day, it loses its power. It's just become another decoration in your house. So if you want your vision board to work, make sure it includes images that romanticize the hard times, has action-based visuals, not just the goals, features motivational quotes that truly speak to your heart, contains realistic goals that you believe you can achieve, and place in somewhere you see it not just every single day, but you see it most of the time throughout your day. And that's when the real magic happens, not just because of luck, but because you have designed your environment to gently guide your actions every single day. Remember the story that I mentioned earlier? How I used to think I was super self-disciplined back in school and at my 9 to 5. Have you ever experienced this? Being able to get things done in one area, but you're struggling in another area. That's what happened to me, and I start to realize maybe I wasn't actually that self-disciplined. Maybe I was just in an environment that had built-in accountability. At school, I had exam to pass. I need to get good grades to graduate. At work, I had deadlines and clients to report to. That's what made me get things done. Not because I had the magical willpower or bulletproof self-discipline. It was external structure and real consequences. So when I start working towards my personal goals outside of my school or my job, it felt different, because for the first time there was no one waiting for the results, no pressures, no consequences. The only person that I need to report to is myself. And honestly, I used to think accountability partners were kind of unnecessary, because for one, I didn't have any friends who were also working something outside their 9 to 5. And two, I assumed that accountability checked-in would feel like one of the most unproductive meetings at work. It was just useless and also wasting your time. But because I read so many books and so many creators recommend it, so I give it a try. So over the past few months, I start to meet an accountability partner once a week. Every week we check in our progress and we share what we have done towards our goals. And honestly, I was shocked at how much of the difference that it made. It gave me the same feelings that I used to have with deadlines when I was at school and at my work. Like I had to finish something before our call. I need to hand in something, even though no one was forcing me. My accountability partner is super gentle and supportive. There's actually no pressure from her personally, but just knowing that I have committed to someone else, even in a small way, it's made me feel responsible to show up, and that small shift has changed everything. Have you ever had someone say, just put your phone away if you want to focus? And you're like, yeah, I've tried, but it doesn't work well for me. Same here. As a content creator, I need my phone to capture moments throughout my day. And because the nature of my work, I need to keep my phone within my reach. So putting it in another room might work for some people, but for myself, it just not work in that way. So what ended up happened was, I would catch myself scrolling Instagram while editing videos and photos, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, But before I knew it, I would close hours on Instagram. Then I start hearing people recommend app that is blocking some of the apps, and so I download one called Oppo. At first it worked. I found myself scrolling less. It definitely helped for a while. But here's the problem. When you start a focus section in Oppo, you can click a take a rest button after waiting for like 5 seconds. And after you clicking that button, you can start scrolling your Instagram for 10 to 15 minutes again. So what did I do? I just keep pressing the take a break button. And sometimes I would even just cancel the whole focus session so that I can keep scrolling my Instagram. Therefore, I found it start losing its power. And then one day I was really frustrated about something. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to be reached by anyone. So I turned on extreme mode in Oppo. In the extreme mode, you can't take breaks and you can't cancel the section. Once you start that focus section in the extreme mode, your distracting apps will be blocked until that session has actually ended. So I set it for 4 hours and something amazing happened, even though I was having a bad day at the time. But I finished my entire work in just those 4 hours. But during that 4 hours, I'm sure I still reached to my phone out of habit. But when I saw that everything was blocked, I just stared at the screen for a few seconds and I put it down. My phone stayed beside me, but since it was completely useless for distractions, I stayed focused. I finished early, I felt clear, and it all came from making distractions impossible. So right now, I'm not saying that you should download Oppo. What I'm saying is you need to put yourself in an environment where distractions isn't even an option. That might mean going to a cafe without Wi-Fi if you don't need an Wi-Fi to work, using an old phone with no social apps, keeping the TV out of your workspace, making your desk clean and minimal, turn off the notifications of your social accounts, or using tools like Oppo but in an extreme mode. Because here's the truth, sometimes it's not about having more discipline, it's about designing your environment so that discipline isn't even required. I recently watched a short from Alex Hormozi, and where he showed his office, it has no windows, no decorations, just plain walls. Why? Because the only thing that left to do is work in his office.
Make it hard to do anything but work. So if you look at my office, I have no windows anywhere and it's really plain. And so the only thing I really have to do is work.
And this principle goes far beyond just productivity or your career goals. Let me explain. I want to get better shape, so I signed up for a more expensive gym membership, not just because of the nicer equipment or better trainers. I did it because I know that I would show up if I was paying more. The higher price gave me some external pressure to commit. Same thing with courses. I've paid for programs before I felt ready, not because I was prepared, but because I knew that once I have invested, I would figure it out. Even with books, I sometimes will buy 10 books at once, not because I will read all of them immediately, but because it reinforced the mindset of I'm someone who learns, I take actions, I commit first, and I will figure out. So here's the real lesson. Remove distractions and create external pressures that will force you to follow through. Don't wait for motivations, don't rely on willpower, and don't rely on self-discipline. Set your environment to support the versions of you that you are becoming. There weren't a lot of tips in this video, but honestly, you don't need a tons of tips for you to change your life. Sometimes you just need 1 or 2 shifts that can make all the difference. And I hope this helped you in some way. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!